Hello everyone, welcome to the day 2 of the Delhi 5 MCQ series for your upcoming NABARD Grade A 2026 cycle. Let's start with the agronomy for today. So the first question is in front of you. It is again from the PYQ 2025. All the questions are from the 2025 phase 1. Okay. So which one of the following type of crops is intentionally cultivated to suppress weed growth by rapidly covering the soil surface and restricting the sunlight availability to emerging weeds? So we know that it is a smoother crops, right? S for suppress, S for smoother. So the answer for this is option E. Okay. So there are different terminologies in agriculture. Let's discuss them one by one. They are very, very important for your examination. Okay. And here the conceptual understanding is more important. Please pay attention to the keywords. Okay. So first is the alley cropping. You can see here the growing of annual crops in the tilled strips between rows of a tree or a shrub crop. Okay, so here we are growing crops between the trees or the shrub. That is what is called as a alley cropping. The next is a biostrips. Biostrip is a permanent sod strip, that is a grass strip you can say, which is usually of a high botanical diversity and is maintained to provide a food and habitat for beneficial organisms and disrupt the dispersal of the pest. Okay, that is what is a biostrips. Next is a living mulch. It is the permanent sod strip or the grass strip of a perennial grasses or legumes between the rows or the beds. Okay, next is a monoculture. It is what? It is a field with a single crop in it. Mono is a single, right? And it is not beneficial and not recommended at all. Okay, the next is a nurse crop. Nurse crop, this is a nurse crop. Okay, it physically protects and nurtures the delicate main crop. This is the main crop from a harsh environment and environmental elements like a sun, wind during its vulnerable early stages. The next is the cash crop. The crops which are grown primarily for the direct commercial sell rather than a personal use. Okay, that is what is a cash crop, like a sugarcane, right? Next is the catch or the contingent crop. Okay, it is a fast growing crop sown to utilize the remaining season effectively when the main crop fails or between the successive planting. The next is the cover crop. It is a close growing crop planted primarily to protect the soil. It is like a mulch crop, right? It protects the mulch and improve its soil health. Then next is the complementary crop. It is going to complement each other, right? They are going to complement each other. They are mutually beneficial to each other and it is going to enhance the growth and yield of both the crops without any competition, right? Next is the fouling. This is again, it is the reversal of the smoother crop. Okay, smoother is going to suppress the weed, but the fouling is going to promote the weed due to its all biological and the nature of its growth, right? So the crops whose cultural practices are often or open canopies allowed weed flora to grow rapidly, leaving the field weed infested. It is primarily seen in the upland paddy. Okay. Next is the Paira and Utera crops. This is the relay cropping only and it is a specific name that we use in our region. Okay, so relay cropping system is in India where seeds of succeeding crop are broadcasted into standing crop right before its harvest, right? So this crop is there in the field and we are broadcasting the new seeds of a different crop before its harvest. Okay, the next is a stimulate crop. It is a crop or combination of crops whose presence or the root exudates naturally stimulate the growth, yield or the physiological process of another companion crop. Stimulate is like a chemicals that it is secreting. Okay, then the next is the supplementary crop. It is going to supplement the you can say income. Okay, so crops grown alongside the main crop to provide additional income or a ground cover without competing for the base resources, right? Then next is a trap crop. It is going to trap the pest away from the main crop and going to help, right? So crop intentionally planted to attract the pest away from the main crop. Next is the truck crop. These are the truck crop, you can see image, right? So this is the term which we generally use for the horticultural crops, mainly vegetables, which are grown extensively on the large scale, primarily for the shipment to the distant markets, right? So yes. Next and the last slide on this is the first concept is a parasitoid. So what is parasitoid? It is the insect. It is an insect that lays its egg in or on another arthropod with the larvae developing inside. You can see it laid egg, then that particular egg is going to feed on that host, and it is going to develop and eventually kill the host. Okay, and these parasitoids are used in the biological way of pest management to control the pest and insects, right? So yes, next is the relay cropping that we see in the Pyrautere is a kind of relay cropping. We are just sowing the second crop into already established crop. Okay, next is the smoother crop. S for S, smoother for suppressing the weeds. Next is augment. It is going to augment the yield of the main crop. The subcrop grown alongside the main crop specifically to supplement and boost the overall yield. Okay, so augment crop going to increase and boost the yield. Next is a guard crop. It is the hardy crop planted as a border around the vulnerable main crop to protect it from the wind, animal or environmental stress. Next question is in front of you. Which of the following is not an advantage of cooperative farming system? So the right answer for this is E, reduced individual bargaining power. It actually increases in the cooperative farming. Okay, so let's talk about the cooperative farming, right? So cooperative farming is about pooling land, resources and labor for joint farming, right? They are going to share inputs, they are going to share risk and even the profit, right? So the on this principle we have different institutes like FPO, then different dairy cooperative institutes, like they are working on this principle, and which is like beneficial for both farmers and the economy, right? So what are the core principles of cooperative farming? First is a voluntary membership. There is no coercion. They come voluntarily if they want. Then democratic control, that is one member will have a one vote irrespective of the, you can say, the status or anything. Then equitable sharing, whatever you are going to contribute, you will get your return with respect to or in the proportion of your contribution. Then shared responsibility, everyone will have a responsibility towards the society, or you can say the group, right? Then the purpose and scope of cooperative farming, it is, as I said, it is going to pull the land. Then because of that, it is the best solution for the fragmented land holding right now, the issue, right? Then the sharing resources, credit access and the marketing also they will have. This is what is the scope of cooperative farming, and we have different key concepts. Let's talk about those. So cooperative farming promotes the economies of scale. What it means? It means take for example, the small and marginal farmer only grown around 100 kg of rice. Now this quantity is not that much to sell in the distant market, but when 10 small farmers are going to come, it will become 1,000 kgs, right? And now they can invest in some transportation and they can transport it to the distant market, and that's why they will earn more, and the risk will be shared and the transportation cost will be shared, and again they are getting a more profit because they are selling in the distant market and not locally. So yes, this is how they promote economies of scale. Then access to modern inputs and technology. Yes, that is what I said. They are going to come together, invest in different things, right? Then resource utilization. All the land, labor, capital is used efficiently. Then risk sharing. They are sharing the risk, and that too, the risk, that means what, the risk is reduced. It is equally shared on everyone. If they are taking a loan, then the repaying, you can say, risk is distributed on everyone, right? Then bargaining power, it increases the bargaining power of individual in that group. So here these are some of the cooperative farming principles and the keywords that you have to learn conceptually. Next question is in front of you. Which of the following statement is not correct with respect to intercropping? So the right answer for this is option A. Okay, so let's talk about the intercropping. This was kind of confusing question, I would say, but we cannot do anything, right? We don't know the even right options. So yes, let's keep it aside and talk about the concept. So yes, what is intercropping? Intercropping is a practice of growing 2 or more crops in a close proximity in the same row or bed, or in the rows or strips that are close enough for biological interaction. Okay, so the benefits of intercropping are efficient resource use, because the middle space is also used. Okay, then the pest control, because the intercrop is going to confuse the insect. If you choose the intercrop properly, then it is going to confuse insect and going to attract predators that are the beneficial insect. Okay, then of course the yield will be higher because you're growing 2 and more crops. The risk of monocropping will reduce because even if your main crop is going to fail, you can earn from the other secondary crops, right? Then there will be proper cover crop management. The soil will be covered, leading to the reduction in the soil erosion, right? Then the challenges of intercropping, in that first is a complex management. That is, you have to plan everything. You need to choose the crops, intercrops wisely. They should not be of the same family to avoid the pest infestation. That is, next problem is the disease and pest risk, okay, right? Then the timing of operations you have to take care of, because the two growth periods, the two critical periods should not collide with each other to avoid the competition, right? Then there will be cultivation difficulties. You cannot use a machineries because everything is occupied, right? So yeah. Again, there is one concept that we again confuse with intercropping, that is a crop rotation, okay? So crop rotation is where we are using the time dimension, but in intercropping we are using the space dimension, okay? So crop rotation, here you are dividing the year into different crops, okay? So plants are separated in a different season. You will take one crop in Kharif, you will take one in Rabi and one in Zaid. But intercropping is about you're dividing the field. You will plant here wheat, then maybe maize here, right? So the plants are separated in a space. They are grown together in the same field at the same time, right? So this is what is the difference between crop rotation and intercropping. So yes, that was it. So the next question is, which of the following practices is described by the term transhumance? So the answer for this is option A, that is seasonal migration of livestock herders between summer and winter grazing pastures. So let's talk about the transhumance. It is what? It is the seasonal and cyclical. It is a seasonal, please remember this is a keyword, seasonal and cyclical movement of livestock between a fixed summer and winter pastures. That is, in summer they will be in the highlands because the snow will be melted and there will be food available for these sheep. But in the winter they will come down in the lowlands because it will all be covered with the snow, right? So yes, transhumance is a seasonal movement, right? But so we often get confused between these terms. Let's differentiate them, okay, from transhumance. First is a nomadism, okay? Nomadism is what? It is a subsistence style of the rearing animals, okay? There is no permanent home for these nomads, and the searches for fodder and water on their routes as they walk, right? And herds are constantly moving. This was only seasonal movement, but this is like they don't have a permanent home and they will wander on that particular route endlessly, right? So it is a continuous and irregular movement. Then ranching here is what? It is the commercial and capital intensive livestock rearing on a permanent and a fenced land, right? And they focus on a profit. It is for a commercial, it is a commercial rearing. And the mixed farming here, it is livestock rearing along with the crop cultivation, right? So integrated system where the crop cultivation and animal rearing is done on the same farm. It is again the optimizes resource use. So I hope you are clear with the every concept. So the last question is, which of the following agroclimatic zone of India includes windern region? So we know that it is central plateau and hill region. This is the PYQ as we already discussed. So yes, please go and watch the agroclimatic zone video. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next session.